The Zohar tells us a fascinating analogy of how our lives are an elaborate divine test. It's actually brought down in chapter 7 of
That's
Tanya.
incredible.
The Alter Rebbe, the Zohar says, a mashal hazonah. It's a metaphor of a king who wanted to test the mettle
His son,
of his son, the crown prince. So what does he do? He hires the most skilled seductress in the land, the prostitute that might be able to
What an
seduce his son.
I mean, what an analogy!
Incredible.
For
So
the
now-
Zohar to say this.
Well, you know what?
It's just crazy how the Zohar uses.
But it gets down
it
to
gets
detail.
down to the details.
Absolutely, leaving nothing off the table, right?
Wow.
And the Zohar tells us that the king wants her to do everything she can to make the prince fail. But really, the king wants her to fail. Even she wants to fail, right? Even she
Everybody
wants to fail.
right.
And the prince, of course, wants to pass the test, right? Look what's happening here. The Zohar is telling us this in such great detail. So here what happens. Imagine somebody went to the prince and said, by the way, somebody's going to knock on your door in 10 minutes. And it's going to be a test. Make sure you pass. The Zohar is giving us the memo. Life is a test. In other words, it's a veil. Don't get confused by what you see. You got to be able to rise above. And yet, we still struggle. This book, V'yadaita Moskova, if God is good, then why can life be so bad? Is parting the veil. It's opening the curtain and saying, guys, here's the backstage. The show's over.
Right.
We're letting you know what's going on. But the question is, we might know. We might understand. But do you feel?
Yeah.
You might know it
that's
here,
work.
but unless you've meditated upon it, it's not going to be over here.
If it's not in Bina,
Bina is good. Bina is good, but it's not enough. It's got to be in Dat.
Right.
Dat is
Chachma
what
Bina
makes
Dat.
you intimately connected to the idea, and that's what Hasidus is doing. It's bringing it down all the way to this physical.
I guess we use the heart when we're confused. That's the point. The heart is prayer. So if you use your heart and your emotions when you're confused, that will bring you to that.
Yeah.
If I'm using, like Rav Nachman says, that the teshuvas and bina, it's when you're able to recalibrate, is to recognize, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? I mean, for my particular, when I'm able to pray in prayer, I go, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? And then I can get to the veil.
But one of the foundational tenets of Chabad is that moach shalit alalev.
Right.
Is that the mind controls the heart. You cannot allow the heart to control the mind. You know, animals are created.
So Rav Nachman says the opposite. Rav Nachman says that through a screaming of the heart, that will open up the mind.
Very interesting. Well, that's a big contrast of Chabad.
Complete opposite.
That's right.
It's exactly opposite.
Well, this is a
the emotion can
foundational,
open up the mind.
fundamental difference. Fascinating. I love this contrast.
That's the difference.
You know, animals are created horizontal, where the heart and the mind are on the same level, and in fact, the mind is a little lower than the heart, because the cow's head is down by the grass, right? So the heart is above the head. A human being is vertical, where the brain is above the heart. Foundational tenet of Chabad is that the mind controls the heart, and therefore you've got to go through those steps of Chokhmah, Bina, and Dayat, of having an idea, understanding the idea, and then when you meditate upon the idea from Bina, you're going into Dayat in a place where you're controlling what kind of emotions. You're actually giving birth to emotions. It's such a beautiful state of existence when your emotions are not the product of the first email that hit your inbox today, or how your wife or your neighbor decide to greet you this morning, but rather you are bulletproof. Right. You are from within. But you are grounded and solid.
What do you do when your emotions just take over, and when you can't? That's where I guess that's why some people connect more to Chabad and some people connect more to Breslov, because some people are just at a point of rock bottom wit's end, and they need to just scream out to God, and they need to just surrender. So this is, I guess, this motto is very good for staying in the good days, equilibrium. But when the days where you're in complete, you lost hope for everything. So then you need you need the helicopter to pick you up.
Just like a beautiful painting is made not from one color, but from the synthesis of many colors. So too, you need the different pathways of Judaism, the Breslev and the Chabad and the different ways needed to be able to give people the paths that they need. But I want to tell you what I do when challenged. What I do when challenged is I enter what I call fortress mentality. I create a safe space. I turn my phone off. I go into my bunker, my consciousness bunker. I realign my values. It happens under the talis, and sometimes more frequently if I need to be able, because Tanya says when you meditate in the morning, then with a mere short meditation, you can go back into that state of consciousness for the rest of the day.
Beautiful.
And what I do is I return back to that state of consciousness. It's modern therapy, and when you do things like
Are you
EMDR,
talking, or you're
conscious thinking.
Or you're just thinking. You're doing
Conscious
his.
thinking.
You're doing his bonenut.
Absolutely.
Bonen, which is thought.
Focused thinking.
is
I don't need to talk to myself. Some people
No,
might
I'm
be
saying
more
his
verbal,
bodedut is his breast of his bodedut.
which is being alone,
Talking it
seclusion.
out.
Oh,
Talking it out.
That's interesting.